Let's get into the functional stuff, like the functional medicine stuff, not functional movement, but like functional reasons. I'm going to go ahead and say number one as a category, infections. And you and I can break this down as much as you want, but
Yep.
I'm going to say infections because you know my story. You saw me. I lost like 25 pounds without trying, and some of it was related to H. pylori. I think the parasites also wrecked me. So I would just say infections as a whole.
Yeah. So when you have inflammation in the gut, right, it could be caused by infections like a parasite like Cryptosporidium, Giardia, Blasto, H. pylori, bacteria in that category, SIBO, general dysbiosis, bacteria imbalances, right? It can create inflammation in the intestinal tract, right? Whether it's small intestine, large intestine. If you look at where these nerves sit on the spinal column, they sit in the lower thoracic to lower lumbar spine. Let's say T10 through L5 or so, maybe even S1. And when you have inflammation in the intestines, it's on a two-lane nerve root highway from your intestines to your spine back to the muscle, right? So we have what's called a viscerosomatic reflux. So viscero means organ, somatic means muscle. So inflammation in the organ can actually take that signal of inflammation, put it on that two-lane highway to the muscle, and it can actually create that muscle to shut down or not be fully facilitated or active. And so inflammation in the intestines can cause that. Now, women know this. Just think about, the average woman that has PMS and has PMS symptoms of back pain. Well, it's not back pain, it's their ovaries having inflammation or hormonal imbalance that's then refluxing to the muscle, right? Visceral organ somatic muscle. So women know that if they have PMS, or if you ever had a gallbladder issue, you feel it in your shoulder. If you have appendicitis, you feel it in that lower right hip quadrant, right? If you have a heart attack, you feel it in the jaw, down the left side, down the left arm. So we know there's this organ muscle connection. And so a lot of people can have muscle issues because their core and their back gets very weak due to inflammation in their intestinal tract. And the more inflammation there is, the less likely you're going to want to lift and want to put resistance on your body because you're just more inflamed and you're more likely to get hurt and injured.
Yeah, so if you now not all people lose weight. You and I've seen many women who gain weight magically 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds. Sorry ladies, sometimes it happens that way to where you gain weight due to infection, but for me and I've seen other men the same, you lose weight. So I don't know. I would just say this, any fluctuation, whether it's weight gain, including muscle loss. So you could gain weight and still lose muscle, right? You could gain body fat and lose muscle. So whether it's a significant, let's say 10, 20 pounds or more weight loss or weight gain with no explanation, I would definitely look into the gut, start looking for infections. And as you mentioned, the strength is important, and people don't want to get strong if they feel like crap. And so for me, luckily, my gut's much better. And now I feel good with resistance training, whereas before I was just so depleted. So let's go into reason number two. I'm going to say nutrient deficiencies. Now, this ties directly into infections, right? Because in the case of H. pylori, if it's reducing stomach acid, now if you're eating this good grass-fed steak, you're not really getting as much nutrition from that. And so these nutrient deficiencies compound over time because if you don't have the amino acids being cleaved off the meats to produce muscle mass, that also creates a big problem. So nutrient deficiency, and we could go any direction you want with this. Even vegetarians, vegans, we could talk about the deficiencies there and how they're going to have trouble with muscle mass.
Yep, 100%. So, of course, if we have vegan, vegetarian, we're not going to get enough carbohydrate, we're not going to get enough protein typically. Or if we get enough protein, right, let's look at the combination of rice and beans, which is a pretty common one. Well, you end up getting 70 grams of protein to 15 grams or so of carbohydrate. So you get a lot of carbohydrate. Now, if you're not that active or you're more insulin resistant, most people are going to need probably a minimum of half their body weight in ounces of protein. So if you're like 200 pounds, that's 100 grams of protein. Well, do the math. If you're getting 15 to 20 grams of protein per 70, 75 grams of carbs, that's, 75 times 5, you're looking at like 350 to 400 grams of carbohydrate. Now, obviously you can fix some of that by doing like a protein shake, like pea protein or hemp protein. You can fix some of that. But again, you're still relying on artificial sources, not whole food sources. Now, the benefit of the animal products is you're going to get all the protein, none of the carbs, and you typically get their grass fed and pasture fed. You're going to be getting excellent, good fatty acids along with it. And you won't be getting a lot of the excess omega-6 fatty acids like you're going to get on the vegetarian vegan side. So you have this nutritional density that you get on the animal side, which is wonderful. And as long as we're choosing, avoiding the factory farm, we're doing grass fed, pasture fed, you're going to be in great shape. And the next thing after vegan vegetarian is low stomach acid. So if we have achlorhydria, low stomach acid, and that typically connects with low enzymes too, we may have a hard time breaking down a lot of that protein. So I know when you had some of your gut infections years ago, I think you had what, cryptosporidium, giardia, H. pylori.
That's
Those are
it.
the three amigos, right? And so when you had this gut infection, you also had lower stomach acid, lower enzyme levels. So supplementing the enzymes and the acids so we can break down those amino acids, and then also adding in or cutting out the bugs is helpful. And then sometimes adding in some amino acids in a free form can be helpful because 40% of the energy that you get from the protein actually goes into digesting the protein. It's like having a credit card with a 40% transaction fee, right? Very expensive. So there is some benefit by doing amino acids, is it's already broken down. But we still want to make sure the whole food is dialed in and that we're getting enough. We're getting access to the whole food nutrients via hydrochloric acid and enzymes too.